I first came across Starfuckers when Antonio sent me the script, and with it he included an MP3 of the music for the final scene, which he had recorded all the voices for. And hearing the MP3 and reading the script, it sort of came alive in a way that I could totally visualize and see the power of the final performance. And so after he sent that to me and I listened to it, my first thought was, oh no, we can't license all this music. And so I called him and he said, no, all those voices are mine, which made me flabbergasted and really excited. And at that point I was like, let's go, let's make this movie. Yeah, because it was so magical and interesting, and the entire thing came alive once I heard it.
I had sent the script to a couple of people without the recording, and even I sometimes had a hard time describing what the film was about and what we were trying to get across, so I thought it might help to go into the studio and record the song to help give the experience of reading the script a more texture, you know, because I personally find reading scripts, even short movies, kind of hard because I think very visually and I think through sound as well. So like, I just wanted to try and give as much of a dynamic experience while people first learned about the film instead of just having it on the page.
Bitch.
I think as a member of the queer community, going to drag shows and drag clubs has been just a part of my adolescence and growing up, and like a huge part of the culture that we're both a part of. And though I haven't participated in drag myself, it's something I've been a spectator for and had friends be a part of. And what was so exciting about this project is the way that Antonio built it into this world and explored drag in a really stylized, beautiful way. And I think, you know, I did learn a lot from Antonio, of course, and I think there was a lot of research that he put in. But I would say that it's a very memorable part of my like growing up in gay clubs and learning about my community and being a spectator. Like we're fortunate to be alive at a time when drag is so prominent in the media with like RuPaul's Drag Race and things like that. But obviously I learned a lot from his performance specifically and the amount of research that you did. And I think we both have a background in theater.
Yeah.
And I think a main part of drag is the spectacle and the theatricality and the makeup, which all feel very a part of the theatrical community as well.
Yeah.
And those sort of go hand in hand.
Totally. The film itself, in the way that it tells the story, I personally used like Hollywood as a backdrop for the film because the power dynamics there are quite clear, and I think it also ties nicely into the second half of the film where we touch on kind of like a Marilyn Monroe character. So I think like, you know, being an actor in Hollywood, you definitely are sensitive to power dynamics, but it's not specifically drawn from a circumstance that was really similar to something in the film.
And I think in the last few years, the Me Too movement has sort of, you know, made conversations more available as people who work in this industry. It just was a topic that people were discussing, and what I think was interesting about the script is that we haven't seen it through this lens and this exploration.
The main focus to me was giving a lot of agency to this character and making sure that we told the story through their lens, making sure that we empowered them and showed them in all of their strength versus leaning into maybe a more obvious choice of kind of showing a lot of their pain and leaning into like the weight of the film, because the subject matter is obviously very serious and quite dark, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget humor and keep the energy buoyant throughout the film, because sometimes I think that's maybe a better way to help someone see something in a different way versus trying to just show them something that makes them uncomfortable. You know, not one is better than the other, but personally, I know that I process things easier if it's not too heavy.
I think Antonio had a very clear vision going into the piece, and I think there are moments in the script that changed as we workshopped it, as Cole rehearsed it with him, and as we moved into the space. Like inherently, once we're in the house and we see actually where the rooms are and things, there were slight differences made, but I would say from the beginning, Antonio had a very clear vision, and it was very clear from the script, the tone and the pacing, and I would say you were very intentional too with how we shot it, and I don't think that much changed besides like the nitty gritty and some of the nuances. Of course, things also, you know, we use the edit to trim a little bit and to make it faster and to play with the pacing, but overall the vision was pretty clear from the get-go, and that's what made me so excited about it, because I could see what he was thinking before we were able to shoot it, and then it was just about finding the right house and finding the right actors and all of that and putting the pieces together, which was a much easier process because the vision was clear.
Thank you. No, it's also like when you find a location for your film, I think things should change a little bit. Like you should lean into what the house is telling you it is, what the house has to offer. You have to be sensitive to those things. Like, I feel like filmmaking is about preparing really intensely and also being very present in the moment to what's going on and trying to lean into that, you know, and stay on your feet, stay alive. Like, there were moments in the film where I had written dialogue and then I decided actually like this is more interesting to watch in silence or in a kind of movement piece versus like trying to just say words. I always feel like learning about characters or watching something visually dynamic is more exciting than just hearing characters talk.
I think when I received the first edit, I said, okay, this works. This works. But you know, the having the MP3 beforehand of the lip sync moment and watching him rehearse made me feel quite confident. But you know, if there were no risks involved, then it wouldn't be a movie worth making. And if we weren't doing something that terrified us a little bit, I also don't think it would have been worth making. So there was, you know, trepidation at every point, but we sort of leaned into the prep work that we did and the research that was done and the fact that we had a terrific crew. We relied on those things to be able to experiment and explore and have variations so that when we were in the edit room, we could make something we were proud of.
When you make a movie, our focus on making it was doing something that scared us and just trying to pull it off for ourselves, you know, like the chemical reaction between what happens in the film and where it gets in or how it does is like so out of your control, you know, and that can't be your objective going into it. You just have to try and like fit as much exciting things as you can into a small amount of time in a grounded way and do that from a collaborative place. But of course, we're like super thrilled that the film has had the reactions that it has and it's gotten into the festivals that it has. You know, it's kind of like beyond our wildest dreams. So we're like so happy. But when we were making it, like there was never a moment where I was thinking like, oh, I hope this, I hope that. I just really wanted to make the movie as good as it could be. And if you're doing that, like, that's just all that you're doing in that moment, you know? To be 100% honest, it was never, ever my intention to make anything more than the short film when we started doing it, because I felt like there were really bold ideas and I did not know if we were going to be able to pull it off. But seeing how the short film came about and having found some collaborators I really trust and some really talented people, I think maybe we might try to expand the world of the film. But when you're doing a feature, there's so many other things to consider, you know, and like there's a lot of structure that's different. You can get away with having less in a short film. So I definitely think if we do that, it's gonna take a long time, but yeah, the idea of that is like really exciting to me for sure.